Dad and Rock presents the Invasion After Show. This is Sean,
And this is Chris.
and we are back at it once again. We are Dad and Rock. We do this each and every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. And we've been talking about Invasion on Apple TV Plus. We are going to discuss episode 8, Contact. Not the Jodie Foster movie.
Nope. And if you guys are watching, please interact. Let us know. What do you think? If we missed anything, fully interactive, and we rely on you guys sometimes. So let's just go ahead and jump into this. Where are we starting today? Which storyline?
Trevante. We left off with Trevante last time, I think, where he was unable to leave. He was dedicated to going home to see his family, kind of almost going AWOL of a sorts. But I mean, the whole world's going to pot. So
there is no AWOL right now.
Right.
It's all for one and one for all.
And he found a plane leaving Kabul with his family. Very convenient. And he got out of there. Last minute. He was able to sell his gun.
Yeah.
Very lovely gun.
He sold his gun and he got on a plane with a whole other family. But they're on their way and they land. I couldn't pinpoint where they land originally. I mean, you've seen the flag, and they wound up landing in London essentially somewhere. Which
camera here.
Which was nice. But the thing is that he gets there and he's asking for, a flight out somewhere else. He's trying to continue on. And I mean, these British soldiers are like, no, I don't care who you are. But he basically says exactly who he is. And he's trying to be as forceful as he can. And I mean, this officer
wasn't working. He wasn't having any of it. But it's like, I don't think Trevante gets the full picture of like the world is ending. Essentially, he wants these people to like bend over backwards for him.
He was kind of secluded. He's seen what he's seen.
Yeah.
I don't think he believes what he's seen.
Right.
But he was still in the middle of the desert and he winds up being almost completely by himself. So I don't think he has really a full picture of really what's going on. Because he was on the phone with, I'm guessing, either an ex-wife or, or they're separated or whatever that real relationship is at the time when the actual president came on the television, and basically addressed the world.
Yeah, and it's probably been only a few days since then, but there's been a lot of stuff going on in the last few days. I mean, it seems as though society is crumbling around everywhere. When as Trevante's been walking through the desert, he's been missing a lot. Essentially this British guy, he's like, Godspeed, here's a sidearm, good luck finding a sailboat to get you to America.
Yeah, exactly. He was to the point where I was like, you know what? He was done with him. Yeah. He showed him as much grace as I think any officer in the military would have showed. He said, here's a gun, get out of my face. It was like, okay, Chief Cole can leave the premises.
Right, yeah.
That's pretty much what he said. He was good to go.
We've got a comment from our loyal viewer, Madeline, who has been on board here each and every Invasion episode, except for this one so far. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Madeline. Thank you. We had a good one. Pretty good Thanksgiving weekend so far.
Yeah, I was happy. I'm glad to hear you had a nice one as well.
Yeah, we made time to watch it. Don't worry. I mean, as far as the episode as a whole, it was pretty good. So it's definitely worth checking out. It's continuing to have its little plot holes that we're trying to maneuver around as we discuss the show.
Plot holes is being nice, but
gaping plot holes. But it was, as far as an episode, like it's episode 8. Things are going like as
things
far
are
as
finally
plot,
moving forward. Yes.
Yeah.
No, they're not really floundering around anymore. We're actually pushing through to get to where we need to go to have some type of resolution to the show. Which I'm, like you said last week, I'm in that same boat, man. I'm afraid we're not going to have a resolution. What's going to happen?
Madeline said she didn't think she cared about spoilers, but she does. She's going to have to check out for right now and revisit us. But we'll be on YouTube. We will. Just
you know where to find us.
Come back. Yeah.
And be sure to check in and drop a comment. Let us know what you thought.
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as Trevante goes, he lands. He basically he kind of stumbles outside of the what we find out to be. He not only he's in Great Britain, but he's in like London specifically. Mm-hmm. He kind of walks through this park and finds a view of the city as a whole, and I used it as the thumbnail here for this episode. It's just not doing well. Big old smokestacks in the city. It looks rough. It's in bad shape.
I'm glad he's there, honestly.
Yeah.
because by the way the show was shot, it gave me the indication that somehow he got back to the U.S. and he's looking at like New York or something,
Right.
from Central Park or wherever it would have been off like a hill. I'm glad he didn't get across the pond back to the States, and it's something that's happening there because it's more realistic in that plane for him to get only that far rather
Oh,
than
sure.
all the way back, which I wouldn't have been shocked if they tried to do, just
Yeah, at
because
this
it would have
point.
been par for the course, honestly.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was that, and you see he sees the city in ruins, and we have that instance again, which we're having in every episode. He finds a payphone that he calls long distance on.
It's still working.
Yeah, like I said before, the infrastructure's crumbling, just
Right.
like last week with the diner. Like
Yeah.
the diner worked. Okay,
This
awesome
random
scene. It
payphone,
looked
not only is it working, but it's able to get a phone call across to her phone, and her, voicemail outgoing message is still working. So,
okay. So that was one thing I was having an issue with. I was like, is this a recording voicemail that he's listening to? Is this her actually on the phone? I couldn't figure it out. So do you think
oh,
that was
I took
actually
it as she assumed that he was going to try to reach her at some point, that he was MIA and not being able to be reached. So she just left an out on her outgoing voicemail message, this long drawn out message to him, essentially, where she talks a little bit about their past together. You're still not getting a lot of details here.
something about
Um,
loved him too? So and then later in the episode when you find out he doesn't want to go to the hospital, I don't know if they had a kid together that died or there's some type of
that's
trauma.
That's what I got out of this kind of vague message that they go back and forth. Because after he listens to all of her outgoing message, then leaves her a voicemail, which is kind of a long response to that. And through these two bits of dialogue, we get kind of a decently fleshed out backstory with them. What I took from it is that maybe they did have a son together, and the son passed away, and Trevante, instead of like staying with her the way that he dealt or grieved, like he just went full force into his military role and kind of escaped the situation.
Yeah.
And maybe she had hard feelings about that, as far as like, you should have been here with me, you
She was
know.
having a hard time coping with the situation, and they were both coping in two different ways, which didn't help each
Yeah,
other out in any way.
that's what I took from it, which honestly, it could be interpreted in many different ways, but
Yeah.
that's the interpretation that I had.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's kind of what I was, leaning towards. I mean, it makes
Yeah,
sense. But once again, we're getting such vague details about it.
right.
And frankly, I don't know if it's even a storyline or that needs to be completely flushed out now.
Well, it's victims. It's weird. It's one of these things where it's almost like the show is really banking on a season two to like carry on these plot threads and really get deeper dives into things. But
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see if that ever happens.
Ooh, that's gonna be a rough one. But I mean, that's pretty much where we leave him. I
Yeah,
mean, and now I thought it was gonna go real dark. I mean, I've got, if you guys have been watching, I go dark all the time for some reason.
yeah.
But he has the sidearm. He sat down next to the phone booth, and you've seen him pull out. Well, you didn't see him, but you know what he pulled out.
Hmm.
They let you draw that conclusion by himself, and
Yeah.
knowing in what kind of place he was then, and knowing a little bit now about the past and what kind of an emotional mess he was about being stuck and not being able to get back and fulfilling that promise of coming home.
Yeah.
Would he just end it?
I think that's what you're left to think about, as because that's the last shot of him as far as this particular portion of the episode, that he's walking towards the city, sidearm in hand, just kind of stumbling, and we're left to question like what his next move is.
Yeah, where is his mental state? Which that mental space couldn't be a good spot.
Yeah. One thing I did, I kind of got the hairs raised on my neck a little bit once he did start to walk towards the city, and I like knew he was in London slash Great Britain. Like, I'm like, well, I know of other characters that are in this same part of the world. I'm like, are we finally going to
Yes.
get some interaction between characters?
Bringing some
Maybe.
storylines together. I mean,
Yeah.
that's unheard of in this show, isn't it? I thought we were supposed to have four different shows within one show.
Right. Yeah. So far it's been unheard of, but I mean, we'll get back to that for sure. So as Travante's walking towards the devastated city, we cut back to Anisha in Long Island. She's having lunch, right? She's having lunch with this guy,
Yeah, this other
and
doctor.
yeah.
And she pretty
And
much like she fesses up. Well, she lets Luke go.
right.
I
Luke doesn't want to sit there. He's like uncomfortable. I was like, I don't want to sit here with you and this dude.
yeah. So she lets Luke go back to Dad, which he didn't even go the direction of Dad,
All right.
and he kind of met up with this other kid in the hallway. And but then they cut back to Anisha, and she's walking through, and they're walking through the back, and how they've got no supplies if something happens, and then the inevitable happens. He knows she's not wearing a ring. He notices, the whole deal, and then yeah,
This was weird. It was awkward. It was like, I don't know. They were acting as though, and the story, the writing was acting as though these two actually have known each other for like months and months, and maybe developed some kind of a bond. Um, but to my knowledge, these two only knew each other for a matter of hours one day, a couple days ago.
if even that, yeah.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, 2 hours at most, and yet they're acting as though they're just, like, you're very like, look these long looks, intimate looks, and I know you're not wearing a ring, and, "Oh, my family's gone." Like, just weird. It's just, like, way too fast. I chalked
There's
it
a
up to
lot of
maybe,
shortcuts with this.
yeah, I thought maybe the emotional stress of everything that's going on, maybe they're just, kind of pushed and fast forward, especially, after all the stuff with Ahmed cheating on her.
Yeah,
Maybe she's just like in a space where it's like, well, I need to do this or what,
yeah.
it's like it's hard to read, but I mean, they ended up doing a little bit of kissy face in the back stock rooms there.
I was almost expecting Ahmed to walk in.
I thought so too, because he was looking for her at this
Well,
point.
yeah, Ahmed and Sarah. I was
Yeah.
expecting those two when he was looking for them two to walk, and then all of a sudden she's the bad guy because Sarah would have seen it. You know what I
That's what I was
mean?
waiting for too. I thought the show was gonna pull that thing, but they didn't. I
Yeah.
mean, thank
They
you
kind of
for not
stopped.
doing that.
They kind of took a step back, and then she starts looking for Luke, and I mean that whole situation because that was a room with that other kid, and he's like, "You want to see something cool, something scary,
Right.
but something cool?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, where's this going?"
Well, yeah, they do. So Luke walks with this kid to this back room that's in the dark, and it's got corpses with all this black, gross slime or whatever it is. And we've seen this throughout the last few episodes. Is these goopy aliens, once they leave a site, or sometimes they just sit there and like they spread this black funk on surfaces, like not
Yeah,
only like corpses, but like cars,
I feel like
roads.
anything has some type of power source. Normally, I've noticed that's been the most
Yeah.
common.
Yeah, so this stuff is all over. I don't know if these spores are like changing the environment to better suit the aliens so they can actually come down en masse and like start to take over the planet, or something along those lines. I don't know. The show doesn't give us a lot. It just gives us these little context clues, these little visuals about what's going on.
Yeah,
But yeah, so they see all these corpses, and later in the episode, like not much else happens here besides the final part of this where they start talking about, or Anisha brings up the fact that she was able to kill one. Luke brings up the fact that his mom was able to kill one with this whatever this black rock was
yeah.
inside of Luke's backpack.
So the kid's like, no, this is not basically calling bull BS. Like, no,
Yeah,
she didn't. No, she
yeah.
didn't.
Guns can't kill him. Nothing can kill him. Apparently, this black rock can.
Yeah. So then Luke actually pulls it out of his backpack, and then eventually everyone's in there with the boys.
Yeah.
And then Anisha walks in, and we get this the scene here.
Way back.
Is he yours?
Luke. Luke.
Use
Dude,
the force, Luke. Luke. It
That's
is your destiny. Sorry, had to. Every time I hear Luke repeated over and over again.
I don't know where to go now. So what do you? I mean, it's obviously it looks like a piece of the ship.
I don't know, dude. Wait, I mean, you
Where
got
would he
black
get
stuff
it?
that's bubbling towards each other and making shapes. Like, I don't know how to read that.
I mean, he found it. I think he probably found it back at the school, back at the very beginning, back when. Remember when all the kids got the nosebleeds and everything?
Yeah.
But what? How? Yeah.
So our bullets don't hurt these things. But if you just break a hunk of their own ship off and start bludgeoning them with it, that'll hurt them. Like, I guess I would more believe that our technology, as different and rudimentary as it is, would hurt them more than their own technology hurting them because it's kind of their technology, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's something I still am kind of really confused about. They're just starting to kind of talk about this stuff.
I don't know where to go with it either. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know what it can do. Can it shape shift as well? Why is it reacting to the goo
Yeah.
that's on this corpse? I mean, we've been wondering about this thing for basically the entirety of the show.
Right.
And now we're getting a little bit more. I don't want to see answers. We're not getting any more answers with it. We're getting more questions. Like, what is this? How can Luke carry it without getting hurt? Like, how is he holding it in his hand? How did Anisha use it? Is it a part of a ship? Isn't it a part of another alien? It's like an appendage from one of these aliens that can shapeshift.
Right.
So there's so many things that go, along with it. It's just they're running out of time in the show, but they're giving us more questions than they are giving us answers.
Like I said before, it's really banking on us exploring these things, and because they don't have enough time in this season to explain all this stuff. And maybe it's not. Maybe they want to leave it, intentionally vague, for us to answer ourselves. Which, I get to a point. It's just not going to leave for a satisfying one season arc because a lot of these
Yeah.
things, it's like, they put the one quality season out there and hey, they want it to stand alone. And if it's good enough to have a sequel season, then they branch off from there and they bring up some new questions or whatnot. But, when you lace so much of this mystery box stuff within the first season, and there's just no guarantee that you're going to be back for season 2. So it leaves for
No.
just an unsatisfying watch.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
I mean, this one here was more enjoyable
Mhm.
than some other episodes, but still, I mean, it's kind of like, okay, let's keep motoring on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, before we leave Anisha's family, we do want to do a quick shout out to actress Tara Moyetti, who actually
Yes.
dropped a comment on our last episode, our last after show. We had mentioned on that show how we thought the kids' acting in this show has been spot on. I
And
mean,
it
really
still
good.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's two. Luke and Sarah have pretty much have been a bright, spot within the show that's kind of difficult to watch at times.
Yeah, when she was calling out for her daddy last episode, as a couple of dads, you and I were like, "Oh, that's tough."
Yeah, we kind of felt it.
That was a hard scene, man. But yeah, so we would just want to thank Tara for reaching out to us and leaving a comment. That was
Yeah,
nice.
she left a very nice comment on our page, and we really appreciate it. And it really took us that someone from the show
Yeah.
actually seen our show talking about them. So
Yeah, took us by
I
surprise. She's on
was
the poster for Pete's sake.
yeah,
Yeah.
I put a smile on my face and a level of like disbelief. So
Yeah, that was nice. So we're gonna move on to Japan and Mitsuki, and there's a bit of progression here where she's basically handcuffed in a room by herself. There's a guard standing there. They're just gonna watch it over. You're already shaking your head as far as this, as far as this one. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
should be in a cell. Let's be real.
Right.
She commandeered government. I mean, essentially espionage. That's what she was committing.
Yeah, here's the thing though. It's kind of like what Trevante ran into. I mean, they're literally facing the end of the world right now. So it's like, does it really benefit them to have Mitsuki in a cell somewhere? Like she apparently is on to some kind of hunch. She's doing something. She's whatever her intentions are, she's clearly trying to get something done. She has some kind of knowledge that they don't. So at this point, I personally, if I was one of these top brass military guys, I would be curious as far as like what the heck she knows and what she's intending to do, what she's trying to do. I think it would be a complete waste for her to sit in a cell. So,
But then we had to go as far as saying, "Oh, she knows secret protocols. You'll be losing 6 hours if you don't use
right.
her, to help us get through this." Uh, come on, she was arrested for a reason. I mean, if she was really working with them and working in their best interests,
Yeah.
she would not have been arrested.
Right.
They would have brought the military and the joint staff and everything from all these other countries that came together, and then they would have started working together with her without slapping her in cuffs and throwing her in her room,
Right.
with one guy standing there as she's trying to pull her best, Joker to escape.
Yeah, well, so she ends up convincing them that they need her essentially. Like, if you want me to work on this, then I'm the only one. And yeah, her old boss from JASA, comes and basically helps convince them. Right,
Yeah, he's the
gets her
only
back in the
one.
room.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, 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 yeah.
So, but the American official, this one guy comes, the one American,
He looks like
dressed
a
in fatigues.
Marine, like some type of high-ranking Marine. I didn't catch his
Right.
actual insignia.
Yeah, he can't. Mitsuki doesn't speak English, so there's a translator in between the two. But essentially, he does. He's like, go ahead and do whatever you're doing, and he wants to know what she's doing at all times. Like, he wants the translator to explain what the heck she's doing,
Yeah.
moment to moment. But her and the team that was a part of this satellite dish, they're back at it again. They're basically trying to do stuff. Although it seems like Mitsuki is the only one that seems to know what the heck she's doing.
Yeah,
The
she's
others are kind of standing around
yeah,
wondering.
yeah, she's Scooby Dooing that crap.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah,
Well,
she's
at the
just
end of the
going and
episode,
typing and typing and typing and
the whole
typing and
episode, yeah.
yeah, and even that other guy that she's with, just like then he finds out about her relationship with the I forget her name, the astronaut. And
Right.
he's like, hold on, I didn't know. Or then she's like, well, I didn't tell it. No one owns me. She ran through like all these people.
Yeah.
And it's the only person that basically she owes anything to was, her girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's kind of harsh. And then he was like, everyone has somebody. And he went as far as saying Matsuki is his somebody that
Yeah,
he
which
just
kind of
cares about.
deflates her a little bit, it kind of disarms her a little, maybe I shouldn't be so harsh to him. But yeah, she has been very like, it's either astronaut girl or bust. Everybody else sucks.
Well, she was that way when they originally introduced them, those two
Yeah.
characters too, because she was kind of an ass to him, but it was kind of one of those, we're friends. I'm gonna ask you because I like you type
Yeah.
thing, which I think is still the case. It's just she's now been through a traumatic event, which now everybody kind of has. So
Right.
it's not being asked. Let's all die as assholes.
Yeah. Right. Well, towards the end of the portion here in Japan, we do realize she eventually confesses what she's been doing this whole time. She's not like translating this language in between the aliens and us. She's well, I guess we find out what she's doing.
Let's see what she's sending.
ほら、子供たち遊んで。
何千もあるビデオ、写真、全部村井さんのだ。何をやったんだ。
変換したんです。彼らのフォーマットに。彼らに私たちが見えるように。
なんだって？
見る周波数で送っちゃった。チャンネルを乗っ取って。
In their format? What's their format? Nobody knows their format.
What is she doing? What?
She sent a yearbook. That's what she sent.
She sent a bunch of
thousands of scrapbook photos,
videos, and photos of her girlfriend saying these lovely little things. It reminded me of Jeff Goldblum tapping into the mothership with his Apple laptop and putting a virus, computer virus, into the mothership.
Wrong show. That's Jurassic Park.
Yeah. But this virus is the power of love. We're gonna take these videos of these lovely things of my girlfriend and convert them to a format that the aliens can understand, and hopefully, if they see what lovely beings that we are, they'll just hightail it out of here. I guess. I don't know.
That's so sickening.
I don't.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know what this whole thing is.
What? I mean, come on. What? Don't that's what? I don't get it. Why you said it? How and why would you think that is of any benefit to the human race that they see pictures of your loved one in videos? I mean, they're sweet. Oh no, they look juicy. I'm gonna go eat one of them. I mean, I if I could tap out,
I'm a little lost too.
I'll just tap out of that story. I mean, that storyline had the most promise when we first started.
It did, yeah.
And it has taken such it's turned into a dumpster fire of like of epic proportion on a show that is not the best. When you have a storyline within your show that is so freaking terrible amongst other storylines that aren't even great, oh, I'm getting pissed.
It's disappointing, and it's like,
Oh.
what? I mean, where do they go? Or what are they trying to? What are they trying to plant the seeds of here? Are they really trying to do this where these aliens are going to like interpret these files and think differently of the victims of the planet Earth? Like, that's. I mean, is that
I
what
wanted
the show's trying to do?
I wanted JASA and NASA to become one joint operation.
Yeah,
I wanted them to use their knowledge of what they have out there to figure things out, not send a yearbook to space.
and it's so selfish what she's doing. Like, I get it. I get it, dude. Like, I get it. You love this woman. She's in space, and aliens crash into her ship, and she did. I get it. That's tough. But we got bigger
She's an
things
ice
going on
rock
right now.
going to the moon now. That's what she is. Or
We
maybe
got
even to the
bigger
sun.
things going on. It's kind of the same thing with Trevante. Like, I know your interpersonal story, that you want to see your family, that you want to be with the ones you love. But at this point, when you're doing things in a selfish manner, while the world literally is like crumbling around you and everybody is
Yeah.
facing the same kind of adversity, it's like tough. This is when you got to like stand your ground where you're at and collaborate with the people that you're with to try to do what you can to solve the problems of this problem.
It's
But
one of the
everybody's in their own little like pocket
they say,
of like
nut up or shut
despair.
up.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, put your big boy pants on and figure it out. Because everyone that doesn't figure it out and just wants to sulk is going to wind up dead.
right. And she apparently has the smarts enough to where she sat down with another group of people that had the smarts. I believe they'd be able to figure something out besides just sending
There has
your
to be some type of pattern. Because at the very end of the episode, after sending these pictures, there was a response. And
right.
we heard Wajo again, or Wajo.
We did, yeah, we did.
So I don't know if I don't know what I don't want them to make the show think that, oh, we sent these pretty pictures and they're like, oh, you sound like a cool person to talk with. We're going to talk back and forth until we can figure this out. So we don't have to eat you guys and move on to the next planet to destroy.
Well, I'm thinking maybe somehow. So we're both. This episode's title is Contact. So Mitsuki and Casper's storyline, essentially, which we're going to talk about here as we end the episode. But it's all about making contact with them in different ways. Like, we learned through Mitsuki's story, this network, this how we understand a network to be, that the aliens are using to communicate with each other internally. And they're trying to like interpret this over like radio waves and stuff, doing the technological thing. Well, Casper seems to be much more like he's got something biological where he's able to tap into this network. So I think maybe those two storylines are kind of play against each other and maybe converge a little bit. But yeah, as far as the whole power love stuff with sending, maybe they'll come out of this and there'll be more to it than that. But it was just tough that like Mitsuki, because Mitsuki had the most agency out of all these characters. She had the greatest potential as far as like, I'm determined. I know what I'm doing.
Mhm.
I'm gonna like walk through you if you're in my way.
Yeah, when she busted through and went into that server room, was
Mhm.
downloading things and looking for the files, it
And
had
it was
such
all
potential.
just to send some pictures, and now she's like done what she's doing, and now she's like crumbled in her girlfriend's father's arms, and she's ready to take a nap.
Yeah, I just hear a song in my head. Is this love that I'm feeling? Is this
Oh,
no?
no. No,
That's
please
all I
stop.
hear
Please
now.
stop.
Okay.
That's it for Japan. That's it.
If you guys are here and you're able to tolerate this, be sure to go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button because, well, we're off the deep end. We still have one more.
Hey,
story
we're
to
gonna
go
move
through.
on to all kinds of different shows. Look, later this upcoming month, December, we're hitting towards the holidays. We're gonna be covering The Witcher season 2 on Netflix.
The 8 Days of Witcher. We're gonna do
8
it.
Days of Witcher. Yeah, well, get hyped. So let's start talking about this other stuff now because we're
Yeah. That and
heading
we have
towards the end of
Boba Fett
Invasion.
coming up after Christmas happens. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have the Boba Fett after show. So we have a lot of fun things coming for you guys. So if you stuck around and watched us do this, We're going to hopefully reward you in the future.
Yeah, a couple more weeks to see how Invasion pans out, at least season 1. But yeah, as we end this episode here, we're gonna go to our final location, which is back to old London, and we actually meet back up
Cheerio.
with Casper. Yeah, Casper, and is it Jamila? Yeah,
Jamila,
Jamila
yeah.
that's been walking with him there. So Casper goes back to his apartment to find his mother, who we know it's his mother because she's in a wheelchair, and she is. I mean, she's gone. She's gray. She's passed away. She's got this black ooze stuff all over her, like she's been gone a while.
Yeah.
And it's tough, man. Like Casper breaks down, he hugs Jamila, and we don't know this character, but we know Casper.
Yeah.
The way that he's talked about his mother before, it seems like that is his family. I mean, he doesn't have much else than
That's
that.
it. Yeah, just him and his mom.
Yeah. So we feel for Casper in this moment. He's really kind of breaking down. And yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one to watch. He's a good actor too. These two, that they have decent chemistry, and for them to kind of at least have each other in this moment and stuff. I'm curious. I thought maybe they'd be heading towards her apartment, but Casper has a resolve where it's like, I could have stopped this. I'm going to go to the hospital where your mom is at because she works there. So we're definitely going there. Now he's like full of like, I know exactly what to do. Somehow seeing his dead mom has like given him this intuition where it's like, well, I was denying the fact that I was seeing things in my seizures before, but now I'm 100% all in and I know exactly what to do, which was like,
okay. So
kind
a
of
kid
turn.
shows up at the hospital and he's like, put me into a coma or a seizure or
Yeah.
something because I'm
Right.
seeing this stuff.
Yeah.
Go away, kid.
Right.
You're not going to walk. You're not going to pull the, you're taking me home. We're going back to London. Yeah. This power move that Casper
Well,
has
is he going to
learned-
have a scribbly drawing for every situation? Is he going to have a scribbly drawing for the doctor there at the hospital who's going to, be convinced and put him in a seizure? Like it worked on Trevante, which we're, bearing the lead here, but we finally get characters coincide. They meet up in the show.
Yeah, because Jamila and Casper are walking to the hospital and all of a sudden you hear gunfire.
Yeah.
And you see the military coming up and you've seen at least one of these aliens climbing up the building.
Right.
Which you honestly have to look for
It
while
was
it's
tiny.
happened. Yeah, it was small. You had to actually physically look for it, but they bust in the building just to try to get away and be safe. And Trevante is there, drinking away his sorrows.
He is, and he wants nothing to do with. I mean, Casper and Jamila, they're like, take
You're
us
a
to the
soldier.
hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a soldier. I'm not a
I'm an
soldier.
operator.
I'm an operator. Yeah, he's over it. He's done. He's just drinking. He's kind of in a drunken stupor right now, and they're trying desperately to get him to go with them.
And yeah, and Casper tries to pull that power move.
Yeah,
You are taking us to the hospital. Why you walked here? Why can't you walk the rest of the way? Why do I got to be with you? You're a soldier. No, I'm an operator. I mean,
well, he's full of vim and vigor, right? He knows exactly what he wants and what. At least he had some agency. Hey, he's moving the plot forward by asking in a very direct way.
yeah. He's got a set on him. I'll give him that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually, Jamila drops the book on the coloring book in front of Trevante,
Right.
and he goes through it, and Trevante sees a picture, and it triggers something in him. Let's go ahead and check it out.
I don't know. I just saw it.
Saw it how?
I see things when I seizure, okay? And sometimes my seizures, they're big, really big.
When did you do this?
3 or 4 days ago. On the bus that night. It was soldiers. Just shapes. And then they were gone. That's all.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, when I first watched it, I didn't catch the actual skull reference, like on his
Yeah.
uniform and in the picture. I understood immediately the shadow, all the soldiers around, but the correlation between the two, I didn't catch till late. But that was what kicked him into gear, really.
So we learned that Casper, through his earlier conversation with Jamila and the drawings that we see in this conversation, so essentially we learned that Casper, when he's been having his seizures as of late, he's been seeing and drawing these visions of essentially what's going on. I don't know if they were like prescient where he was drawing them as they happened or before they happened. But the way I interpret it is he is having seizures, and there's something biological that he's tapping into this alien network, because they all seem to be interconnected, and they know what all of the other aliens are doing at any given point. They're all connected at all times. It's always on internet, and they're all connected to each other. So I interpreted that he had a seizure right as the soldiers were shooting at this ship, in the desert. All that was all happening at the same time.
That was my thought as well. Right when the actual event takes place is when he's having a seizure, or right before it takes place, he's having a seizure. So he's seeing everything that's taking place, even know that he's X amount of miles away from the actual event taking place.
I actually would have loved to have gotten that, if that's the case. Like, I would have loved to seen Casper having a seizure intercut
Do a
with
side
the
by side, or
soldiers, with the soldiers having their, sandstorm and being
Mhm.
decimated during that portion. I would have loved, because if you would have connected to them at that point, I'd been like, "Oh, what's going on here?" It would have been more interesting, right?
Yeah,
But,
we
like,
would have
something
known
is
more
definitely
about
up with
Casper.
Casper.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would have been way more invested in Casper's storyline. And
Or with Casper at the very beginning, because he
yeah,
had a seizure when he was in the school, when the whole thing took place back in Oklahoma. We
right.
would have been able to connect the dots to that event in Casper, this event in Casper, the events that took place in Long Island in
Yeah.
Casper. They
And when
really
we would have
missed the boat.
learned would have learned about this how they communicate, the aliens, from Mitsuki's storyline, this network that's they're trying to download in radio waves, I think it would have informed what's going on with Casper earlier, because I think they're definitely connected. I think he's tapping into whatever that is. And I don't know. It's just, it's like mysteries of the show that I would have preferred to know and understand sooner, because we seem to get in a lot of this stuff late, when we're wrapping up towards the last couple episodes. And I don't know. I'm not going to tell them how to do their jobs, the writers. I guess that's
But
what
we're
we're doing here
but we're
on an
here to
after
tell them
show.
how to do their job. I mean, that's
Yeah.
essentially we're
I'm just saying,
reviewing.
as me, as a viewer, what I would have probably appreciated more, if this was layered out differently.
But I think you were on to something earlier. I think they were trying to go for the long play.
Yeah.
And that was their biggest downfall.
Right.
Assuming that there was a long play.
Yeah.
Figure this out, give us questions, and then give us answers. And if once you give us some answers, giving us more questions, there's nothing wrong with.
Right.
But answer some things before you give us more questions. Don't just layer questions on top of questions, assuming that there's going to be another season or more time for you to go ahead and finish, your story.
Tell a great story in a great way in a one season. Treat it like a mini series. Like, you've only got 10 episodes to tell a great story. And after that, if it's going to resonate with people in the public, then you're going to definitely come back, But I don't feel that. I feel like there was kind of a great story here that was told in just a not great way. Just not like unskilled hands were able to tell this. And, some of the cinematography, just there's been like failings across the board as far as some of the acting, not all of it. I think I think the cast is pretty good. The writing, though, and honestly, some of the cinematography, like a lot of the overhead drone shots and big shots, have been kind of cool. But what we were mentioning earlier, a lot of when it's at nighttime, like, you can barely see what's happening.
It's hard to see
Right.
what's happening. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So that's how we leave this episode 8 of season 1 of Invasion,
Yeah.
named Contact. And yeah, that's about it. We'll see what happens episode 9.
I mean, it wasn't the worst episode of all of them. But I mean, honestly, the bar is so low when it comes to which episodes are better than the others. Obviously, the Home Invasion was by far
Yeah.
the best episode. I mean, it's not even with, if you took that episode out and had it by itself, you wouldn't even know that was an episode of the show besides being with the actors.
It felt completely different. I mean, because it was it was
Yeah.
structured completely different. We got to spend time with one of the characters throughout the entirety of the episode. Yeah. So, anyway, I've
But
let me express my thoughts this episode. You and I both.
Okay, guys. Well, I mean, you guys know who we are now. We're Dad and Rock. We do this stuff all the time. We kind of gave you a little bit of a heads up, hint to or look forward to the end of the month, the December here, with The Witcher, the 8 Days of Witcher. None of those shows are going to be live. The 8 Days of Witcher will not be live. They're going to be recorded They're going to be a little more truncated, maybe about 15 to 20-minute long episodes at most.
It's the
But
Netflix model. We gotta maintain. We gotta do it somehow.
Yep, and we're going to give you 8 consecutive days of us rather than just one day a week when it comes to The Witcher. So I know I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
I know Sean is too. It's going to be a little more work for us, but I hope you guys enjoyed that. And then we're just Star Wars heads. So Boba Fett's coming. And yeah, Boba
that's
Fett's
exciting.
coming.
Yeah, we'll definitely be covering the Book of Boba Fett, premiering at the very end of December. So stay tuned. We've got some, holiday related things coming up. We are Dad and Rock. We're here each and every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. And right now we are discussing Invasion. There's only 2 episodes left, right? 10
2
episodes
episodes
in total.
Yep.
So we got 2 more weeks of this. We'll see how Invasion wraps up.
Okay, guys. So until we see you next week at 10 o'clock on Saturday, go ahead and keep it cheesy.
See ya.